Let's get the technology right before we start. Yeah, that's me. That sounds like me. Hey, you can hear me now, okay? Great, okay. That's better. So, I think before I even start talking technology to you, because most people get fogged over, I want to talk about the psychology of it, because getting good sound in an environment, you've got to have good source sound to improve it. But if you don't have good source sound, then what can you do? You're going to have to live with what you've. Same with video pictures. What's the lighting like in the room? How does it look? Do you put a lot more gain into it? You know, it's all of those sort of combinations that we've got to sort out. So we found out who's got the passion for sound. It's one guy here. Anybody else here? You got passion for sound? And are you using the X32? Are you too? Yes. vMix has been the best blessing in the world. I've been using that since about 2008 first came out. It was in a little box that tried to do many things and then it could do it and then they put on just the software and you've got nice computers to do it. That's been a great invention for the churches to be able to stream. Do you have issues with your sound on? Yeah. And generally that comes about because you're mixing to the room and then, you know, it is possible to use that same mixer with an aux output to then have somebody monitoring it.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Big things that you do have. Happy? Is that working for you? Yes, indeed. Yeah, it is. Great. Okay. We'll not get too bogged down in this because it will keep stop for the recording process. So, again, reiterating down to the communication. You've got drums. You've got in here. There's no mics on the drums, but in this environment, yeah. Right. So drums are like 300 watts acoustically in volume. Speech is like nowhere near that. It's like 20 watts. So obviously you're then taking that speech, you're amplifying that mic, and then you've got the drums. And the thing is, the drums then all spill in unless you've got proper screening. I don't know if you've seen some of the churches in America whereby they put the drummer in a little house of his own, you know. It's, you have the Perspex screen. Does it have a roof on it or not? No. Yeah, it's that high. So all that really does is sort of cut a little bit of the cymbal spill. It doesn't really affect an awful lot. And a lot of people get like, especially when you're sort of streaming, you get the reflections and stuff and it doesn't quite work so well. They help a little. I mean, how do you find them working for you in the environment? Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm not particularly familiar with that one, but I'll have a look at the picture and just see. Can then maybe give some pointers about how you should mix it. Do you use that mixer to then use to the stream also? Yeah. See. So that's what a lot of people do, but you don't necessarily take specific dedicated things for your streaming. So in this environment here, you can see the room. The acoustic, that's going to be loud in this room. And when you have your TV sound, what do you want on there? Do you want it to sound like a TV mix, or do you want it to sound how it sounds in the room? There's all of these things that you can look at to simplify it. Would you be better off just having a microphone on your camera pointing at the stage? Because then it's going to pick up the room. But then maybe you're not going to get clear preacher, and that's what you want. So there's many different ways of attacking this sort of streaming for sound. And I know we're moving into that because we're just talking about how churches now are all media, how they're all online and everything. So it is quite important to sort of find your workflow that works best for you with the technology you have available. We all have different, some very expensive stuff where you can do multiple things with, or something that's very simple. So there's little bits of technology we can start looking at to see which is the best. When you have a situation like the speak, are they used for front house, or these ones for your front house? Do you have them all? So what comes out speaks? Yes. Fine. Okay. So this is quite an interesting environment here to have where the sound's coming from. What does it actually sound like at the room? for you. Yeah. Okay. So one thing, did you all get what he was having his experience there? He's really struggling, this guy. Really, honestly, we have. So, the way this is set up, if you have a microphone, which is like a 58. This is a classic 58 type. It's one of the cheaper ones. And I'm sure you've all got this sort of microphone. Okay. So because of this being quite cheaper, it'll have the same sort of pattern, but the tonal quality of it will not be quite the same. It'll be a little bit thinner and certainly not rich as a SM58, which is the Shure type. Now when you're using this microphone, it's basically what's classed as a cardioid, and it picks up in the heart chip. They call it cardioid because it's heart chip. So its access point, its true 100% working is going to be here. So you're really going to have it here as a singer. If you're down here, it's going to drop by about 10 dB, which means he's going to have to put in 10 dB more gain, which then all of a sudden everything starts ringing around because them speakers are feeding back into this louder than the person. So if you have this microphone here, and what I always encourage the preachers is not to be down here and then screaming there, because the gain's been set to pick it up from the wider source. The gain is the input gain, and we'll talk all about it. We'll talk all about that when we get a bit more depth in the technical. There's a signal flow, and I got into coming up with this thing called input, process, and output. Okay, and I treat that like the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Okay, input is the signal chain that comes into your desk, and there's many different things you can do on that. You can turn it up, turn it down for the input gain. You can adjust the tone, so you can add treble, mid, bass, and then you've got a fader volume, which again is another source. Then you've got to do something with that and process it. So what do I do with it? Well, I've got to route it somewhere to go to the speakers, to TV stream, and then within that process is compression. So we can put a compressor on that thing, which means when the person's speaking down here and then go to there, it doesn't bleep out the speakers, but it evens the flow. So input, process, output is the input signal coming in. I'm going to process it with some compression and route whatever else, and then the output is where it's going to end up in its signal. But these mics, I don't know, how do you think they sound? You've got to put it on your chin. Yeah. So to use the pop shield is always good, because if I want you all just to put your hands in front of your face now, and I want you to say the word P, and say the word B, say the word A. What was the difference between all of them? There was nothing there. Yeah, exactly. So the whole point of these things is to sort of filter out the P's and B's. So to have these on, it'll be really good. But it's good to encourage all of your singers to have it on the chin, or if they're standing on a stand, to eat the mic. Because as soon as you're either side of that, the gain that drops, in order for him or whoever's driving front of house to put in to get sound out the speakers, reduces the tonal quality of it. And especially when you've got a cheaper type mic. I mean, I'm not sure the price of these. And to be honest with you, I've used so many things that are cheap, so many things that are expensive. I did some comparisons once where we put a £1,000 microphone in a studio against a £400 mic, and I was able to make them sound the same by slightly adjusting the gain and just tone. So I'm not kind of waved by oh, it's £1,000 mic, it's got a best. Because if the source quality isn't any good, then it doesn't matter if it's a 50 quid mic or a £10,000 mic, because if the source quality is going to be big. The thing with the more expensive microphones is they actually listen more, whereas the cheaper ones don't listen as much, and that's how I'd put that terminology down. You know, a Neumann microphone, a condenser microphone will pick up the bloom of a room. It'll pick up like a little buzz or a fly over there, right, from here. Where this one, as soon as that's over there, it's not going to pick up anything. It's going to be hissy. It's not going to be nice tone and things like that. But you have to work with what you've got, and if that's what you've got, let's figure out the best way to get the best out of it. So don't be like disillusioned by cheap is not good, because it's what you've got, and you've got to make it work. Yeah. So that's one of the things, you know, and obviously Pastor loves to hear this conversation because, you know, technology, the media department are always going to pastors going, oh, we need this equipment. How many pastors? I get emails of pastors going, do we really need this equipment? And then I'll go away and I'll research it. I'll come back and say, look, you know, you don't. You need to change a few things in the church and learn that mentality, because it's important to sustain churches where you're not throwing thousands of pounds at equipment and then not that person who's learned to use it moves off and goes on to another job, and then somebody comes in and doesn't know. It's a challenge. So that's just the life of a church, you know. And the reason I'm getting into this conversation before we get into tech is just to have that understanding. If you learn that base level now, when we're looking at microphones and we start talking about different types, you can sort of figure out, are all your microphones like this, or do you have different types? Let's have a look. Right, so look at all of these different types of microphones we've got here. This one's the best. Oh, for you, in your environment. Yeah. And look at all these different types and shapes and wonders of things, you know. For me, I would call these sort of entry level, right? But the work, you know, you're getting the sound of. Good man. Well done you for what you're doing there. I don't like, because I know a lot of people who've worked with very high end stuff dismiss these, but this is what we've got to do. The principles are all the same. Anything that's like this needs to be here. As soon as you put it here, same problem, input gain, then it booms out. It's some issues. Different heads on these. This is probably more wider. Potentially this one will have a bright sound to it than this one, and there's different models of these ones where they'll have a blue rim around them, and they're called beta mics. They're just a bit more brighter, which means you don't have to use the EQ so much to pick up a little bit the sibilance of things. So for diction and things like that, like one of the preachers came to me and he said that he wasn't getting understood properly. There's something wrong with the recordings and this, that, the other. And I listened to it. Actually, it was his speech at source. I sat with him in my studio for a couple of hours and just recorded them. Said, I don't understand that word. What's that word? And realized it was all into his preach and the speed that he was speaking and the tone that he was speaking in. And it was almost like a speech therapy course I had to run, because it was re-educating him in the room he was in, how to deliver for people listening. How long are you going to listen to me before you drift off? And I see this lady here, she's already thinking about shopping this afternoon and everything. You know, so do you know what I mean? That's the thing, when you're in the congregation, you got the pastor preaching and it's people drift off. How do we keep, especially if the sound isn't quite giving us what we want to hear, and it's hard to hear and we're not getting definition of sound. So let's see what we can work with on these, how they actually sound, what's the best thing to do. Looking at this room at the minute, to have that up there, that's actually feeding nobody, it's just feeding into the room and probably causing some issue. The speakers that are on the wall here are in an okay position, but they're not ideal, because really you want to have front of house position. And all of these should be behind, which is going to allow you to have more gain, because as soon as you have a mic that's open and you've got a speaker into it, it's feeding around, and that's how you get the feedback. So what you want to do is minimize by having floor speakers. So for a congregation, they want the front sound that's controlled of a balanced signal. The people on stage want to hear themselves and not necessarily all about. They want to hear a little bit of keyboards, want to hear themselves greater, which is going to help their pitching. But I don't know what your church is like. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, true. So one of the churches that I did the big install in, I did a large install in a big church, and we give all the band their own personal 16-channel headphones, so they could have mix of what they wanted, their own keyboards, guitar, bit of kick, bit of snare, all the vocals. So the person in front of the house didn't have to mix it. And then 6 months later, I get a call from the church saying, "No, it sounds really bad." What they'd actually done was they didn't want to work technology anymore. That was all just stacked up, and they were like 500 each units. You know, so $2,000 just sitting stacked up. They'd moved their speakers that were front of the house behind, and they had 7 microphones on front, all like people doing this, and it's like, oh, what do you expect? Let's move everything back to how the install was. Let's find out why that bit of technology is not working for them, because that technology should be the best thing we've had. And then give them the monitors. And one thing that people find is they always want to be loud, louder, louder. If the drummer's loud, to get the signal above the drums is such a challenge with the speakers that you open it. That's the discipline of communication again. Does the drummer really need to be that loud? Does the bass player need to be that loud? I did it at a gig the other week. I'd never played for a few years, and I went and did a show down Skegness, and I'd had my amp on stage, and it was like 3,500 seater thing. And the bass player, the front of the house said, "Oh, can you turn the bass down?" I went, "Yeah." And within like sort of 1 or 2 songs, I had to creep, because the sound that I was getting to the monitor, and there's no real communication with the front engine. I was creeping it up, just kind of apologising to the house guy, because I was needing that for me to be able to perform. So I understand all of that technology, but yet I'm still having to do that to try and find something that makes it, hopefully, you compromise house. So yeah, that's a lot of that stuff. Should we have a little listen to some of these microphones in this room? See what the best. And the thing is, you've got a lot of different flavors here, haven't you? A lot of different types of mics. Is it best to have one mic that just works? One style of mic? Do you think? Yeah? A lot of different sounds, yeah. Yeah. It is a challenge, because that just comes from, like, you know, you've got what you got at the time, and okay, I've got another couple of £100, I'll go and get them. That helps us out. Obviously, that desk up there is very, very skilled in what it does. It's an entry-level digital console, but so many churches. I mean, I have one of them personally that I go out and I record for songs of praise, and on the small records, I'll take my system out. Yep. That's me. Hello. Is this mic? Hello? Hello? Wow. So, what I would do, although I know you're trying to record, is your recording level coming off the master fader? Does the recording level come off the master fader? Do you have amplifiers? We can turn them down, or are they powered off an amp or something? Okay. Yeah. So this is lovely, because we're getting into a situation here where we need to look at amps and signal flow. Are you all keeping up with me okay? Is this conversation going all right for you? Yeah, okay. Feel free at any time of he's like, anytime you want to ask anything, put your hand up. We'll just go straight into questions as well, because it's important that you engage in this session. So, hello? Yeah. Now, to me, my sound in here, let's just see where we're coming out from. Where can you hear the sound coming from? Over there? Yeah. And I hear a bit coming from there. What I hear on this sound is... There's no true clarity, is there? Yeah. And he's got a mic up there as well. You speak on that one?
Hello.
Now his sound is much better. Talk on it.
Hi. Good morning.
Bring that mic down. Let's see what we're going to hear the difference. Come on. Yes.
Can we have same model, all receiving at same frequencies? Would that be okay? Would they, so if all of these set up there at the same, would there be clashes sometimes? Because I've seen a situation where you put on a mic and then you're putting on another controller and then the mic is not.
Right, so you're talking about radio frequency as opposed to the tonality, right?
Yes, not the tonality,
The radio frequency. You've got to have an individual frequency per mic. Because if you have multiple transmitters, they're going to fight, clash all the time. So it's imperative. And the thing is, the government got rid of a lot of radio frequencies to sell to the cellular telecom companies, right? So radio frequencies came down. There's channel 70, which is free. There's channel 38, which is free. Currently in the audio world, we're fighting with going to London, for instance. I had 16 radio mics, and to find the slots to have the individuality of each one without them clashing, such a challenge to scan. So it would go across 3 different frequencies, 3 different groups of frequencies. So you can have 16 channels in one group. You can have a lot more than that, of course, but to have what they call intermod free, it's intermodulation, where the microphone's transmitting on a frequency, it's also transmitting on harmonics of that frequency, right? I'll give you a great example. I was on a festival site and I bought some Chinese radios and walkie-talkies in India, right? Brought them to the UK and they worked amazing. People were like on the festival site, so we're going miles away on the little buggies. I was able to talk to them. And then the PA manager came and said, "Steve, what frequencies are you using?" I says, "Oh, this is our channels." Yeah, but there's something else on there. And he had a spectrum analyzer. When I keyed this microphone, it didn't just spike on the frequency that it said it was on. It was also very, very high powered across many different harmonic frequencies, which was interfering with him. So that from that we found out we couldn't then use that technology. Sadly, it wasn't necessarily legal in this country. So there is legalities. Stuff you're buying here, these are all free channels. You get what you don't pay for as a technology, because you could have a taxi company across the road who will transmit. You could have the police. There's a lot of RF up on the roof up there, microwave links and all sorts of things. Harmonically, they could clash with that. So the fact that this is working, it's great. To answer your question, 1 frequency per 1 mic. Different frequencies, not different models. So I'll like my last job down in London last week, I was recording the congregation in this big church in London, and the director didn't want to see any of the wires, so I made all of the congregation mic hidden behind the TV monitors on all of the pillars all the way down, and there was 12 channels in that particular show. We had lots more, but for them particular mics, there's 12 channels, and they all had to be on a single frequency with a single receiver. So one mic, one receiver, one frequency. If you use them transmit, let's say these two are on the same frequency, they're going to fight for the modulation space. So you get what's classed as intermod, and this sounds very bad, it's not clear. You set it on the mic and on the receiver. And it's important to do a chart, actually, to do a frequency chart. There's definitely, certainly for Sennheiser, you can go to a Sennheiser site, give me the, let's say it's channel 38, for example, or channel 70, depending on what radio mics you have. You can go to the website, type in what mic you have, what model, and it'll give you a coordination. So if you have 8 channels, it'll tell you the best intermod free frequencies to set them channels at. Then you have the issue is, who else is using those channels in your area? Because what they've done now is, and it's good that you've raised this question because it's quite important. A lot of people are using radio mics to keep the stage clean. To have this, what's called intermod free, it means your watts on your handhelds done in milliwatts. So inside the build, you should only be using 10 milliwatts. If you use 50 milliwatts, it's higher power, but then obviously the harmonic range is going to be higher power. So if you put them all on 10 milliwatts, generally these will come standard. I don't think you can change these particular ones. For the more expensive models, you can put them on high and low power, and they'll go between 10 milliwatts, 50 milliwatts, 100 milliwatts, and 200 milliwatts. But you have to pay a lot of money to get there. That's for long range. So if I was in this room recording and I had somebody on the radio wireless in the building over there, then I'd put that on 4 milliwatts, and then I can guarantee the signal. Even at 50 milliwatts on the digital platform now, because it's digital spec plotted together, that can actually come quite. But in an environment like this, when this is your transmitter and that's your receiver there, 10 milliwatts power is really important to just use that, because you don't need any. What you have an issue is if somebody else in the next building is using the same frequency, and it happened to me in Huddersfield just before Christmas, another Songs of Praise we did. We had a frequency plot when I went to check. We did a little research and was find out what's available in that area. The man that ran the venue told us that the university across the road was illegally using the same frequencies as he was, and he had to go to a company, it's like Ofcom, GFMG, and say, look, I've rented these frequencies, I pay annually to have these frequencies, but the people across the road are using them. So then they had to get a letter to say, like, you need to re-license for the frequency coordination. Have issues with that? Where you are? Is that Bluetooth or is it wireless? It's not Bluetooth. It's definitely wireless. Go and have a look at it, because if you have a little look on here, here's an example, right? It says 86400, and then it has a channel group number 08. 86400. That's like, phew, channel 70. It's way high. It's right up. So this is classed as free. Like, it's free for all. First come, first serve. That's how it works. What you need to do is get yourself an XML spreadsheet, right? You know, and just go channel 1 to 8, whatever, however many mics you've got, and mark them up. Like he's got that wireless 2 on here. Okay, wireless 2. So wireless 2 is is on that channel. And if at any time it comes to check somebody's accidentally knocked it or it's changed, then at least you can get everything back into coordination. It's really important to coordinate your wireless mics, especially if you have a lot of them. There's a church that I worked at out here, Pastor Goke. He's just literally around the corner actually. Went and did his, and they had a lot of these free microphones, free wireless frequency mic, went free. I think they were about 200 or 300 quid for channel of 4 of them, you know, different code collect information. And it wouldn't work there because there was something that was more powerful than the same frequencies then to then scan it and find out where they are. And when it's free, it's free. You can't go and knock on them people's door and go, "Oh, can you knock your microphone off?" No, because I've bought this because it's free. So then you have to then start doing a scan and say, well, what frequencies are you using? Because there's a lot. There's like 16 channels in each group, so you can go and find another hole to put in. So hopefully that answers your question. I've got a good understanding.
Yeah, but that's why I was looking ahead. Because as you mentioned that some of these mics can be set manually. Maybe I'm not supposed to set it automatically. That's why it's very important.
Right. All of the mics will come with groups. So you have to find on your group on there. You could start with the receiver. Normally we do what's called a frequency scan. That might not do that. What you can do is you can go through and you just go channel 1. Is there anything at it? If you get noise floor, listen to it, see what it's producing. If it's noise, it could be data. There's a lot of stuff wireless in the air that we don't know about. A lot of data is transmitted through wireless. Cellular comms. You hear your phone. If you put that next to a wireless mic, sometimes it picks it up. And you can go through each one, and then, as I say, do the list, do the frequency coordination. Channel 1 is going to be on that. If it's working, never touch a working system. Don't need to move it, and then just go through. How many channels are you using? 5? Huh? 20? Yeah. How many wireless do you use? That's what two pairs, but is that like 2 receivers that have 2 mics on them? Ah, I'm confused. So you, but you're transmitting on 4. No, that's a receiver. Yes, you've got 2 of them, and they pick up 1 frequency each, or the dual, or it's fine. Okay. Yeah. But it sounds like you've got something transmit 2 times, same frequency is transmitting to the 1 receiver. Yeah. Yeah. Can't change. All right. Yes. That sounds like it. Yes. No, that's an interesting one. Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds like you have a conflict which is called intermodulation. It's an intermodal problem. So you need to, if that can't be fixed, then you need to go to the radio mic and try and adjust that so that's on a different channel. Does that make sense? Oh. Yeah. Yeah, it's just like, yeah. I find it unusual that you wouldn't be able to change. I do find it unusual that you would be able to. Whether it's in a menu or whether it's on an app, third-party app, something. When we break for lunch, we'll Google it. We'll have a little look, and then we can do a little research together to try and resolve that problem for you. Does that make sense? Right. Is it like an intercom or something like that? Oh. Yeah, yeah. Oh, it sounds like it's Polyland Mars or something. How much was it? Don't worry. Oh, okay, it'll not be Highland. Maybe it's from Mars. We'll come back to that on the lunch and we'll try and figure that out for you. But to answer your question, you can't have the same frequency doubled twice to a receiver because you'll get cancellation. That answers your question. Go on, one more question. Yeah. Go on then. Excellent. Good question. So we're talking about radio mic world here now. We've gone into the depths of radio mic and not the hard wires, which we'll come back to. Because people are using radio mics more. So go back to your first question. Right. So a channel is set, let's say channel 38. They call it TV channel 38. And it's right across the spectrum. So you have lots of different frequencies that have been assigned. And the radio mic channels are at channel 70, which is free, which is like these mics. That's like first come, first serve, you put it on. The frequency, so the channel here in this group says it's 008, but the frequency is 86,400. So in the frequency spectrum, that's really high. When you're down at channel 38, that's like 606, and then you'll have 3 digits after it. So it's a frequency spectrum that it's allocated, and it's going to be on one frequency with a certain band. Is it? Yeah, that's the channel, which has loads of individual frequencies in it, and then you choose one of them frequencies that you would then match up with your receiver. What was the next one? So harmonics. So within that frequency, let's say that's at 606,338. Harmonics is going to go up by another 100 units at that frequency, and then another 100 units. So on a spectrum analyzer, the thing that I was speaking about earlier, when I was keying that mic, I was keying on that low frequency. It was like 400 megahertz, but it was also coming up at 500 megahertz. Within the harmonics, it's not just on that one frequency, it's also got a little bit of spill either side. That's what a harmonic is. So if you were to play the bass guitar, great example, and you play an open note on the A string, then you go to the 12th fret, and rather than playing the 12th fret, you just put your finger on top. That's classed as a harmonic as well. So if you press that, it'll play an octave above. That's 12 notes above from where the open pitch is. Yeah? And you have different frequency lengths on a guitar string, as the same as you have different frequency lengths in sound. So when I'm talking, my voice is probably around about 500 hertz. Okay, so we'll have a little look. I'll draw something out for you as we develop to say from 20. Yeah, you ever seen a bit of technology? It goes, this piece of equipment has 20 to 20. You ever heard about 20-20 vision? You've heard about 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz? It means there's sounds within that spectrum. Now speech, and this is when we'll get onto EQ and microphones. Speech, our speech window is anywhere from 3 hertz up to about 5 kilohertz. Anything either side of it, you don't need that on your EQ. When we come to look at equalization, we'll all be going up there and having a little look at the desk a bit later. We'll talk about that, about why how you can filter out so you honey, and this is great for your EQ and of your vocals if it's quiet. How you can EQ so you're not getting kick drum coming through, you're not getting bass guitar bleeding through into the mic, so you fine tune in to the sound. Even if you have very simple mix, if it's digital, is it buttons for you? But do you have a visual representation of your mix? You do. So when you press that, you'll be able to go through and you'll EQ all the microphones where somebody might have a really irritating sound in their voice. Do you know that person? Got a sound that's a bit sort. It's got a, I don't know, it's got a tone. You can go in, you can actually take it out because we all sound different. All of our vocal cords resonate differently, so. I tell you what.
Yeah.
So pastor was preaching in front of the church on Sunday, and then there was like an annoying frequency that was kind of bothering me with it. So I was really confused because it sounded almost like it was leading to become a feedback. Almost like it was leading to become a feedback. So I started looking for what was wrong. I checked everything. The gate, the noise level was okay. The gain was okay. There was no problem with it. And then I knew it was going to be from the EQ spectrum. So I had a lot of problem trying to find out what part of the EQ I had to cut out. So I'm going to ask the question later, but I might as well just do it.
Sure.
How do I know the part of the frequency that's causing issues, and how do I know how to cut it out, but like how do I accurately know, okay, this problem, the feedback is coming from the EQ, the feedback is coming from being too close to a to a speaker, and how do I know that the feedback is coming from the gain being too loud?
It's a great question. Excellent question. Where do we know to go to fix the problem? And the thing is, what we all have to learn is back to the basics. Input. Oh, brilliant. Oh, got a mix here. Great visual representation. So, yeah, it's good. So, the question he's asking, how does he know? How does he know what frequency is causing the problem? Where does he go to start it off? One of the things we need to learn is get back to that input, process, output. He says his gain structure was fine. He was happy with the noise floor level. Not sure what you think. No, you're good. You're using the right technology. Yeah. So he's initially happy with everything that he's seeing on his, but something in the thing that's bugging him. Nowadays, you're very lucky with the technology you have. When I started out learning, you had these, nothing else. Now you have visual representation that's going to show you, spectrum analyzer-wise, what frequencies coming in, and that's going to tell you you've got a little bit of a red line there, and it changes the color by the amplitude, so the volume of that frequency. So that's one thing you can look at. So when we come to this setting, he's got the great app here. Why don't I just do this? I'm not sure if you were all familiar with this or not. You all familiar with this sort of interface? Yeah, that's it. And it's good to have that technology because this is the sort of thing you should be using this to mix. So yeah, because your mixers are, you want to come down, the stairs, you want to quickly go, oh yeah, it sounds, that's what's happening. Yeah, go up there, it sounds different. Is it? Yeah, it is. So you've got this interface here. So where's the mic I was using?
Wireless 2. So let's go on to wireless 2. Can we see that? I'm assuming it's a touch screen. And bring up the EQ for us to look at in the full screen. There you go. Look at that. So as you can see, I'm talking. He's already done the good job where he's filtered out, which is called a high pass filter. That means the high frequencies will pass this signal, but anything below, what have you got it on there? Is it 100 or something, or 200? Let's have a little look. So 164 hertz, which is a good starting point. Although there is a bit of body in there, so let's just roll that back a little bit to 100. 100, there you go. There's my voice coming in. I sound like a man now. But you go to 164. Oh, look at that. Lovely cup of tea. Cup of China. So, did you go back to 164? 164, 164, 164. Take it up to 200. Go up to 200, 100, 200, 200, 200. Oh, where am I going? I'm fading away into a much thinner man, which I always wanted to be. And we're going to go up to where we're going up to now. Let's go up to 500. Take it up to 500, 500. Now I sound like I'm on the phone. Interesting, isn't it? So take that back to 100 again. And we're starting to sound like we've got a decent signal coming in. But look at where I'm talking. And like when he was asking the question and his mic was here, I'm just in the room. I'm not even being picked up. Turn the gain up now. Turn the gain up to where I'm going to be coming into the room. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? So the sound, whoa, it's about a feedback. There's a lot of hiss on that. Ooh, ooh. There's a ooh on it. Let's have a little look at the graphic representation again. Bring it up. EQ, yeah, like, oh, oh. So you're starting to see where the peaks are around about there. What frequency is that there? Hey, hey, hey. Hey, I'm not redlining anything because the gain's not too bad, but it's right on the edge, isn't it? So just purely from this example, this is a great way for us to listen and learn. You wouldn't even want to start working with that sound. If you're starting to work with that sound, you're already in trouble. So what you need to do is go back to where we had it a little bit earlier, take the gain down. Take the gain down to where you had it. Bring in the frequencies that we had before. I don't know if you can remember where that was set to. We'll put it on 100, 100, 100. We seem to have lost a little bit of volume there now. Not hearing the volume. Let's see where it is. I don't know if it was gain structure or what you changed there, but yeah. Okay. So we're getting to this situation where I sound a bit dull there, I think. You think? Most of my seminars are quite dull anyway, but you're going to give us... Oh, hello. Now I'm starting to get a little bit of the sibilance. I can hear my diction. Yeah. Buzz. Good. Yeah. It's yeah. Yeah. No. Okay. So can I just say this, and we'll come back to your question straight away. The best thing that I find is before you start delving into EQ, we're going to get the volume right. That's the first thing, right? Then we look at the tone. Okay. I always put everything up to 100 hertz high pass filter, because if anything below that, if you put that on 0, we'll start getting the P's and the B's and the bombs and the pop. Take that back up to 100, it reduces that. Once he's gone up to 164, you can hear that it's actually that small amount of frequency that he's filtered out. It goes super thin, and then it breaks and drops out. You have a noise gate on this as well. Can we switch the noise gate off just for the moment? Hey. and see what we've really got hidden behind the noise gate. Now that sound in here for me is not too bad, but I'm eating the microphone. It's not a huge volume. It's not too loud. The tonal quality is quite good actually for me, and seeing what speakers we've got. So this is when we're going to move on to stuff. I see how the time's working. Speaker placement. We haven't got the right speaker placement in here. So in order to get some more gain, you need to, as a preacher, I would have it here all the time. And I would use the dynamics of my voice of when I want to actually increase. And then if you want to draw people in, you use the dynamics at source. But when you're doing this, and it's gone, and especially when you're using that console to produce the sound that's going to the TV world, you keep losing it. You keep losing it all the time. So the complications, and one thing we've got to find out here is the signal flow. We call that workflow. The input, process, output. I'll keep saying that throughout the whole of today. Having that gain structure right. Gain structure is key to everything. But in order to get the right gain structure, you've got to have the right speaker placement. And then you start fighting the fires as once that's right. For me, a lot of people go, we've got equalization, it's called EQ. Well, we'll just go there and we'll fix it there. Let's start off with a flat sound and see how that works, okay? But because of how mic works and how the speech generally works, as long as people say, if you put that up to 100 hertz on a high-pass filter, that's your great starting point. You'll find some people, I did a gospel event just on Saturday, just Saturday gone. Huge gospel band. Every single one of them was on a handheld mic, right? 16 of them singing, they're normally 32, 16. Then I had 3 professional backing singers. Again, as all I did with all of the mics, I just rolled it off to 100 hertz. And there was only one singer who was a fantastic singer, but she had the dynamic range. She had the skill to be able to do that. And her voice level into this never changed because she did the dynamics. She was an incredible singer. But she had a tone when it was flat, where it was just booming at about 300 hertz. I knew that because I have the skills of learning that over many years, and you have to learn about frequencies, what sounds. But now you have visual representation. You can see where the peak is. You can go in and then use a fine cue and pull that frequency out. And it's very rare for me to do that. On that occasion, what I had to do with her is I had 100 hertz cut off. I went to 300 hertz on a fine cue, because you can have it wide or you can narrow the cue, so you can have 300 hertz plus either side of that frequency, or you can have it tight. I pulled that out and I added 5 kilohertz to her voice, and all of a sudden it sounded there, in place. And regardless what she did with this, because she amplified her voice, she had great mic technique, that's what it's called. She could control, and she had her own in-ears mix as well. So she knew exactly what she was doing because she had her in-ears. There was no monitors on stage that were used fully, and it meant the band was incredibly clean sound. We had a drummer who was in a booth with a roof, and his sound was excellent. And the MD, he was on in-ears. So only the choir had 3 monitors, and they had their tenor, altos, and sopranos on their separate mixes. So that comes from lots of years of experience, but having the technology available to say, this is how we're going to improve the stage sound. So there's a couple of things that we just need to reflect on. Go on. I'll ask the question. What was the issue we have with this room to start with? Can anybody tell me? Speaker placement. Yeah, we could relook at that, see how we could improve that. And that's part of the practical thing we'll do today. The EQ, have we flattened it? You've got a little bit of a notch out of that. Should we just flatten the whole thing and just put a one EQ? So you can just switch them off. You see the little power supplies, power signs here? Switch that off, switch that off, switch that off, Switch that off. Hey, hey, hey. So that's my sound. I think it's a little bit low in level. We'll maybe increase the level. Try the fader level before we do the gain level. Go on. Check, 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 check. Hey, yeah. Okay. Do what you need to do, however you've got it signed up. Yeah, checking. Okay. Now that's starting to sound a little bit, got a bit more life in it, hasn't it? Okay. What I'm going to do is take one of these pop shields. Put a pop shield on. Okay. Yeah, that's sounding pretty good. I'm going to have a little walk around and see how it walks. Pastor, do you walk into the congregation much? No? Okay. Are you always just on the stage? Okay. So even on the stage, you come up here. A little bit of drop out there. Was it dropping out? It was dropping out, wasn't it, as I came up the stairs? It's very audible up here. And the sound isn't that bad. Doesn't sound too bad. You can hear all my heavy breaths. Again, if I put myself here, where are you going to put that to make it audible? It's not such a good sound now, is it? Even when I'm just hear the difference of how much it rolls off there. Okay, so let's put it there. Let's get the gain structure right. Turn up the gain structure. Oh. And now you're going to have to start having a little play with the EQs. Now you can either do the EQing on the channel or you can EQ the matrix. Perfect. What I was saying was that there's a couple of places where you can actually do the EQing. You can either do it on the matrix, or yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. That's fine. So he's found a great place to do his, it's called workflow. Where am I going to do the compression? Where am I going to do the EQ? I'll give you an example. When I do a recording, when I do my groups, sometimes I'll EQ the groups. So rather than having every single channel coming in with an EQ and a compression on it, I'll just group them all to one stereo path, and then I'll EQ that path, and I'll put the compression on that path. Saves all of the power that's required on the processing power. Yeah, so what we're talking about here is if you want to EQ something, you've got individual channels to do it. He's found a method that works for him where it helps other people, where the bass player, so if he was going to take all of the bass out of the vocals, then the bass player, if he did it on the matrix, it affects the bass player. Whereas if he does it on the channel, it's kept clean. Now, one thing you did notice there, you know, when I turned around and you were getting, sometimes it was, did you hear that sound that came in before? Well, that's part of, in the mod. That means there's obviously something either on near this frequency, or there was a dropout. Is it this unit? We need to figure that out. It could be the microphone itself. It could be something that's an airborne radio frequency that's causing it. But that's got to be very irritating because it's not great for sound, is it? So do you find that that happens a lot for you? It's the first time you've heard it. The noise where it drops out, the signal dropped out. When I was walking around here, and I came around here, and I came up here, and see, that's all. It happens sometimes. Not all of them. Is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Well, that seems to be working okay at the minute, and that's not too bad. session and see what you picked up from what we've just discussed there with regards to signal flow. Do you have an understanding of signal flow?
I also do have this issue where like we're a tenor, soprano, alto, and bass singer. So for example, if a soprano singer hands over the mic to a tenor singer, it's a whole lot of distortion. So I have to like refix the EQ for each singer. So the lead mic can't always be constantly a set EQ. So for example, if a soprano singer is singing, that's why I need to learn EQ. I have to like kind of bring her treble up and her bass a little bit lower so we can hear the soprano in the voice. But that's not the case for a tenor singer. It's a whole different mixing. So how do I sort out something where different people are going to be using a mic, but they're going to be singing different parts, and they need to have a different EQ setting?
So there's a couple of ways of skinning the cat on this one. If it's important that they have to share mics, you can turn me down just a little bit, just a little bit. I'll be very like picky, so I'm like, just a little bit, yeah, okay. So if you have enough channels, you can replicate the channels. So if that one microphone's coming in on channel 10, and let's say you have channel, I don't know, 18 to 23 available, you've got 5 people, you just make that channel strip. You go, channel 10 is going to go on 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Re-EQ, do the dynamics, do the gain structure, and then literally when they hand over, you switch channel 10 off and you put channel 17 on. So that's a workflow-based issue. Personally, I would minimize that, and I would not get them to share the mic. What's the reason for them to share the same mic? Is it because they're leading worship or something? It's a lead mic. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. What you've got to do is simplify everything. Don't overcomplicate too many things. But here's the other thing. People's volume are going to be the main thing. I still believe, like if you put on the 100 hertz high pass, and occasionally you may put a bit of 5K on, I generally do not EQ for sections. I just don't, because sound is the sound of the person. The only thing that's going to be different is whether they're going to be loud or quiet. So in that method, if you've got the one mic and it's a quick changeover and you haven't got time, it's better to duplicate the channel, and you're going to say, Bob's on channel 10, Frida's on channel 22. It's the same mic coming in, but their settings are preset. And with the console of that one, you can literally put them next to each other. You don't have to have them in that group position, so you can just make the thing duplicate that way. So that's a possibility of something you could look at. Yeah. Exactly. No, I know that. Yeah. Yeah.
And this will happen dynamically in every service. One lead mic is not going to be one person.
No.
And this will happen again for the same service and for different services. So how do we get this sorted? Or let me put it this way. Is there a setting that can be for one for all?
One size fits all. That's a wonderful world we live in, isn't it? Like, my T-shirt is a bit too big for you, though, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I love the one size fits all approach. Compression. Let's look at compression. Gain structure. That's the thing. Input, process, output. So that's dropping out there, isn't it? I don't know which way I'm holding it. Maybe I'm holding it on the transmitter. Is that a problem? Hey. That is one of the big issues. Like people grab the bottom of the transmitter and it doesn't go through the gain structure. It should be held up here, exactly, away from the transmitter.
let's get the gain structure right. What level is my voice coming in? And this is going to be a question, okay? Yeah, can you see, is it going up to like minus 12 or something like that? Hey, minus 30. That's minus 30. Yeah, and it's quite loud on here, isn't it? Okay. Let's look at our signal flow before we fix anything. So we've got speaker volumes. They're connected by an amplifier and an output. You've got volume on that console. Where is your master fader set?
I kind of take away everything after service because, as you said, I was having a really bishop issues with the communications. So, what was supposed because the person who set it up made it select more or less try to go into the matrix. I cut off the middle of the matrix and I just left it on. So, from the mix versus the matrix. So, the mix versus speaks to the matrix and I don't think the communication was that much.
Okay. So we've got a signal coming in. My sound gets captured by a microphone. Either goes via wireless or a cable into his machine. Then we adjust the input gain. Look at that coming down. It comes onto a fader, which is the input signal. You want to process it. We put some dynamics on it, which is compression. That signal then goes along to either a matrix or an audio output master into an amplifier. Amplifier then comes onto the speaker.
Also, DC bass. So,
Okay.
DC bass.
So he's got DCA vision control amplifier, right? DCA voltage control amplifier. Basically, they're groups, and you can turn up and down to but all of the players. A lot of players on this. You've got that signal. What's happening with the amplifier? Do you have everything?
No.
Where are we at?
Maybe, I'll say about 1, 2 o'clock. That's the max.
Well, I think that's a great start. A lot of people are thinking about it. You turn everything to full, and then you have the input gain that's in there, and then you have. So for me, that's a little bit loud, but obviously when it's full of people in here, it's not going to be so loud. So set the gain of the amplifier. Could we hear it, please? Yeah. I just want to hear volume. Good.
hey, 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 hey. Let's have a little look at where my voice is. We'll go back over to hey, 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 hey. That's where we should be getting our voice up there. Round about -10. -10, -12. That's what you should be able to do then. Okay, we can kill that music now, thanks. Okay. So my thinking is, if we've got the amps turned down, did you say they were always on 10? Since we started, we can turn them down to 10. So, in order to get the level best on the counselling, we're going to check this whole signal here now. We're going to look, we've looked at the EQ, we've got the sound working, we've got some brightness coming through, you can hear my voice. If we put my signal onto 100 hertz for the high pass filter as a starting point. Hey, 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 hey. 100 hertz, is it on that now? That's a starting point, right? We're going to start looking at EQ, which we've done. Now the dynamics, compression. Does anybody know what a compressor does? There we go. Huh? Doesn't filter it. An average singer's coming in, and then you have somebody who comes in a lot louder, then it's going to reduce them more. That's going to give you more of an average sound. But what comes with that is sometimes complications, because it's going to attack the higher frequencies quicker than it will the lower frequencies. So if you've got somebody who's a bass singer or a tenor, their compression is going to be quite slow acting, because low frequencies oscillate on a slow sine wave. High frequencies oscillate quicker, which then get attacked more. So what you might find is that one person who's like the treble singer, and you put the compression on and you're compressing them, then you're going to have to maybe put a little bit of treble on the sound of the voice to match it. That's the only differences you're going to do. That might be a quick workaround for you. If you don't want to have separate channels of the same thing coming in, do the compression. Let's have a little play with the compressor then. So can you all see? Gather round. Do you want to come round? Have a little look here. I can see there's a lot of reduction going on here for something. Is that in the compressor? Hey, 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 hey. Okay. Go on, take that up. Take it up, take it up. Hey, 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 hey. So my sound is now starting to come out much nicer because it's not being so compressed. Let's really put the compression on heavy, and I'm not hearing any difference on that at all. Are we working on the right channel? Yes, we are. That's a gate. I see what you're using as a noise gate. We want to go to compressor. Gate, gate, gate. Go to that one. Go to dynamics. And let's put in, hey, 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 compression. Turn that up. Hey, 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 hey. So that's the threshold. When's it going to start working? well, it's going to start working as soon as we tell it to start peaking around about minus 25. So bring that down, minus 25. Hey, 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 hey. Hey, yeah. Hey, yeah. Keep turning it down till you start to see some red lights. Keep going. Okay, we're starting to see that now. Take the ratio up. Hey, 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 hey. Checking 1, 2, 3. I'm not really hearing a lot of difference on that, if I'm truthfully honest. So I don't know, is it switched on? Let's check it switched on, active. There we go. So let's see how that's working. Take it off altogether. Check, 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 check. Hey, 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 hey. Any difference on that? None? I can see that it's actually doing something, but it's obviously this sound that's on this actor is not coming out of them speakers. So it's just figuring out what's causing that. So what we could do to look at the compression, wherever your outside source is, whatever you're using for your signal flow. You said it was on matrix or something, did it? Yeah, so that's not being affected, although you can see it's working, but I can't hear it actually doing anything. Yeah, hey, 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 yeah, yeah, yeah. 1, 2, 3. Is that working? Check, check, check. Let's go and what happens when you mute that? You do the mute on that. Need to look at these signal flow, because one of the things that we want to improve is speaker placement. Are they all in the right places? How does this signal input process output again? How does it go from the source sound to getting distributed? And what I was hearing there was we're making lots of changes, but it wasn't affecting us at all. So we need to get his signal flow right in order to see what changes he's making. So that's one thing we can do. He's all ready for a quick break. Time for a quick cup of tea. Have some questions ready. Happy to chat through it. We'll have a quick break, cup of tea, and then we'll come back.
Hallelujah. 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 The sound coming out is nothing. Hallelujah.
Oh yeah, I was going to get. Check, check, check. Hey, yes, indeed. 1, 2, checking 1, 2. Hey, hey, hey. Yeah, that's definitely making a difference now. You can hear that now, right? Check, check, check. And we don't want any gate. You can put on duck arrow expander as well if you wanted. Hey, check, 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 check. 1, 2, check, check. Hey. 1, 2, checking 1, 2, 3. Good that you've got this here now because it saves us going up and down. Just going to check the EQ. That's all okay there. 1, 2, 3. Check, 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 check. Hey, 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 hey. 1, 2, check. 1, 2, check, check, check. Hey. Good starting point. Dynamics. Let's go to where did I look? That's at gate. Sure.
There's a little bit of backup, and then there's compression on the singer, but it's not as bad as I made my 5 a bit higher than the rest of them. He's trying to make himself loud, and then I'm trying to increase his volume, but it's getting the clip already. So I have to reduce his volume while he's complaining his volume is not enough. So I have to try to set everything. Going offline. Yes. So how do I set it up where like keyboardist can hear himself clearly? It's not going into the red, and
was compression. What does a compressor do? A compressor is something that you have as an insert across the signal, whereby it'll even out the sound. But you have several steps where you set threshold. Threshold is where do you want me to start working? So we set that at around about -12. If the signal is lower, you can turn it down, depending on what signal. Then you have a ratio. How much do you want me to turn that signal down or even it out when you have reached a threshold? So you have 2 to 1, 4 to 1, 6 to 1, 10 to 1. So every time you put 2 dB in above -12, it's on 2 to 1 to give you time range. It's going to make it not square, but it's going to make it different. So you're going to have singers who are in. One might be a quiet whisper. You're going to have the gain turned up for that person, and they're a bit soft. And the next person comes in and well, compressor will help do that, of course it will. But it also robs other elements of the sound. So then you're going to have some fine adjustment. The question was, is there a one-size-fits-all set? Truthfully, no. But you're going to try and work out average, where you're not going to be messing about too much. You have the controls, and that's why you're not up there. You know, you don't want to kind of necessarily just sit back like, oh yeah, it's all good. So, the thing about live thing is, keyboard player, what mood is he in this morning? He's going to be in heavy. Is he in the right place for worship? Is he gentle? No, so that's why I talk about psychology. You as a sound, you've got to be kind of on your game, reading everything. That sounds a bit, but you probably do that back. Anyway, I'm reading every situation, everything you do. But I'm trying to also just get the average, what I can do best. Going back to the compressor, can we remember what so that's the starting point. So we want to get the mic signal round a bit. But the compression, set the threshold. What does the threshold do? Set the number. What's the actual, what's the threshold? That's the starting point. Tell minus anything that goes above minus, these. Then we have the term issue. So 1 to 1, not going to do much. 2 to 1, it's going to reduce it by 2 dB. 3 to 1, 6 dB. 4 to 1, so on. You also have a couple other things that you might know what a tap is. Huh? Tap. Attack. Yeah, so on here, on attack, you've got a few different shapes. You can have it where it's just brute attack. As soon as it's reached that threshold and it's compression, it'll be very hard. That's a fast attack. You can have it where you put it on slowly, it'll come in slower out. So it'll not be just brutally on and off. So if you have a quick attack with release, it means it's on. If you have somebody that's doing this all the time, right? If you put it on a slower attack, gradually release it, hold it for a long time. So you've got quite a few different parameters that you need to have a look. And generally what I say to people, try and get it roundabout, well, the thing was if you've got somebody that becomes a shout out, at least it's useful. I think with compression, you don't want it to be too, because the more aggressive it is, first thing that sometimes if you get sound that's coming in, especially with speakers, it's very dynamic. Because doing so you set the sound level before when here, and when it comes up here, the compression kick in, so it doesn't blast out the speaker, but it's still enough dynamic person strip out. All relate gain structure. As we spoke about it earlier, if you have a dynamic mic, true sound chin, your toe. Once you move that away, signal drops down. So the person up there is going to have to hear about it, not hit. Well, all of a sudden that mic's become like if the speaker is the sound comes out back into that mic. And one of the big things is quite good sound, good down to the mic. Again, I've got to get back to the source sound. So if we've covered the dynamic side, move on to this. You're not.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
So if you want to just go around and have a quick look.
Hallelujah.
Let's see if that's working. Yeah, so I can see the signals coming in there now. So at the minute, we've got it active, so it should be able to work. We're looking at a thing, the threshold button here. So let's take that. And at the minute, it's not doing anything because my levels that are coming in are not going close to where it's been set. Let's see if that works, So now we can see that that's getting evened out because I've set it down to start working at a much lower level. And then we've got the ratio here. Ratio is how much it's going to reduce. So 100% ratio, 0% ratio. I can hear a slight difference on that, not an awful lot. But that should be working there now. Let's just see if that works. Hey, 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 yeah. Hey, yeah, hey, 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 hey. Well, you can definitely hear that it's taking the tone away because it's really reducing the sound. But as I bring in the threshold again, so stop working, hey, that start comes good. So that's what we're looking at. And then you've got it on this one, it's saying a mix, you can have 100% or you can have a little bit. So at the minute's on 100%. Let's take it down. It's not going to do anything until I put it back up. So you might want to hear the compression working. This controls the amount of compression that you hear. And then over here we have the attack and release. So if I put that up, you can see by the graphic representation there, that's kind of like quite a quick attack there. So it's literally, as soon as I hit that -12, it's going to start working. Where that one, it's going to ramp in. It's got 67 milliseconds. It's all marked in milliseconds. So it's going to be a slow acting compression, and then it will reduce. And then you've got the release and the hold. How long do you want to hold it for? Well, just keep holding it as long as you want it to. That's going to not hold it at all. It's just going to attack it. It's going to release it. It's great that you've got graphical representation here to see how that works. So basically, it's going to have a slow ramp into it. It's going to hold it for a period and then release it. And it'll keep replicating that as long as you keep heating them levels. And over here, you can actually specify a frequency. So if you've got somebody who actually has a certain sound in their voice, you can attack that. So you could go along and say, it's on 10K at the minute, so that's probably going to look at like the sibilance, you know. Let's put the filter on here. And let's just move that around. You see, I'm not need a mouse. Hey, so that's going to affect the treble on that. Hear the little difference? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2. It changes the tonal quality of it. So what this compressor is actually doing is quite good in the fact that if you have somebody that's got a whistle or a sound in their voice that's a little bit harsh, you could go along to that frequency and actually just compress that frequency and even it out. I tend not to bother with those, to be honest with you, because in a PA environment, it's best just to get the average working in there. But for your settings, you're saying, how can I make that tenor or that soprano sound the same when they're sharing the same mic? Well, this is the way you can save the snapshots. Digital consoles, you can save settings. You can have Brenda's setting. You can have Dave's settings. I can't remember any Nigerian names at the minute that I can say settings. Give me your name. Toby. Toby, you're new. I've only just seen you come in there. Hi, Toby. You're welcome. So you could have Toby's settings. Toby, what do you do? Oh, I'll talk to you later. Excellent. But what do you do in the church, the media department? Oh, right. So you're a singer. Oh, brilliant. Well, you're the person that we're exactly talking this to. So how would you sing into the mic as an example?
This way. Hallelujah.
See, that's great. So his mic technique straight on it. And we're just talking about how some people like sing down here. And people with good mic technique know how to move that and make it work. But a lot of people just put the mic. We were talking how that causes some issues with regards to the gain structure, how much the level is in the board. Now we're just talking compression and how we can even that sound out. So you've got a great example here, guys, of a singer who's got the mic on his chin, tone as a good start. He's covering the transmitter. He's got a valid point.
Oh, this way, right?
Yeah. So one of the issues happens is people hold the button of the transmitter, and the thing is the transmission does go through the bone structure, but it causes it sometimes to drop out, so it's always best to hold the top. But the other thing, can I just show you this? Sometimes you get people and they grab the mic like this. That's also a big no-no. So again, as part of you being the team members, you've got to encourage and communicate with your team. And, you know, that's one thing I want to go back to in the beginning when I started talking about was communication. So you're going to see things happen. And in some situations, you can actually do that as a way of testing for put your hand over the mic and speed it back. Actually go and see the frequency and speak it out. So when you see people doing it like that, rappers do it all the time. It's like, don't. Because it actually disturbs the sound. Okay, so that's the compression on the console. Had the signal come in. -12 is a good start point. And again, your fader output. PA volume depend on how you've got your power amps set up. A lot of people have power amps on the speakers. It's good to get that level right, not to have it all up at 100% and have this. So what you want to do is look at the input gain structure, and I'm just going round and round. That you want to get the levels good on the desk, and then turn the PA speakers down to the volume that's comfortable. So if you've got power amplifiers, turn them down. Get the right levels on the console where you can see 12. Are we good on compression? Happy with that? Yep. Yes, you're going to see. Although it goes to 0, this is the thing with a lot of different consoles. The actual output level of them is much greater than what levels are marked in here. And there's a lot of different levels with monitoring levels. And there's a great sheet that tells you everything equals 0 at one point. But terminology of volumes, Nordic scaling, PPM scaling, that's peak program meters. The EBU, there's a system now called LUFS, LUFS, which is to get an average. So you know when you're on your TV at home and you're flicking through the channels, it's always a different level. If you've gone from Netflix to maybe it's the BBC, sometimes you'll get a jump in the level. And that's because Netflix is a movie-based channel, so it wants the dynamic range. So speech is peaking at minus 27, really low. But it's allowed to have up to minus 1 for exposure. Whereas news channels have to be minus 23 as an average. And they can go up to minus 10. So minus 23 is a sonic level that's measured over a duration of time. And then you have decibel readings, and then you have decibel unit readings. There's so many different scalings that you have to learn, but 0 is 0 across. This is marked as 0 dBFS, that's decibel full scale. And we want to be around about minus 12, because that's a good average for digital signals, because there's a lot of more energy in the digital signal. So that's something you need to look at as a storm. You know, if it goes up to minus 6, it's not going to kill anybody. But you're trying to get something that's even. But, you know, as a worship leader, you might want to have that quiet piece. You're just playing with the piano and the praise section. Then when you go into worship, then it's going to be energy. And you want to have that dynamic. You don't want to kind of over-compress things. You just try and get the initial source sound that's coming in on one channel, say. Because their question was, how do we have one worship mic, but we have 3 worship leaders who are all different in tonality and volume, and so it's important to try and get the average. That's what we're looking to do here. Just make the average input level using the dynamics of the compression to then try and smooth it out. And talk about preachers, how a lot of time they're down here, and then they want to scream into the mic. That's part of the dynamic range, but you've got to find the average of where that figures that it's not distorted. So, my experience, certainly in Nigeria, they like to have that high energy sound. And the distortion is part of it. If it's not distorted, they're almost like feel they're being disrespected, which I have heard on one occasion. But as you travel around the world, you hear different. We all hear things differently. We all like different sounds, don't we? I mean, what's your favorite sound? How do you like your stuff to sound?
Well, that's not too loud.
Yeah. It's got to be comfortable, right? And the thing is, if you're listening to a preacher for 20 minutes or an hour, I don't know, does he run over time a little bit or what? He's on time. So I actually had a clock put at the back of the church. I said, preacher. Anyway, no, that's a bit of a flip. Take it back. But the thing is, when you sit listening, how long do we listen? Do you know what the average listening rate? From me talking today, I've talked for a couple hours, right? You probably listened to 11 seconds. 11 seconds. You're picking up, switching up. That's what we do as you. Right. Now. Yeah. Okay. Then imagine the sound's not nice. Right? And it's like what do you do when you're scrolling through social media? If the video is not good and the sound's good, you'll watch it. If the sound's bad, the first thing you do is, and the sound's not bad because it's either distorted or it's got. Now, there's times when sound can have that effect on it, and it's used as, a creative way. So it is possible. I've heard people sing through, like, the speaker, public speaker announcement, and they've used it as an effect, but it's in a certain sound. When we come to church, we've got to listen to the preacher, we've got to listen to the worship, because that's what engages us. If the music isn't touching us, where are we with our worship? That's done it. But unless the sound's right, cannot engage. So, compression, we're happy with. We covered the EQ. You happy with equalization? Come on. Yes.
So, we understand that people have setting. So
Yeah.
this person, yes, it's an auto singer.
Yeah. It is, but I want to go back to just the. We go back to T. So my set, what I do on average, and what I've found the best set is that it's flat to start. And then you're going to see a signal coming in. So you see my signal coming in. You can see where all my peaks are. You can see that I'm kind of peaking up here, or low bass, not so much on the treble. Can we have somebody with a higher voice? Who's got a higher voice? Where's she gone, the lady? She's gone away. Did she leave? Huh? Oh, she's on a call. She's on the call. So, well, obviously we don't have anybody with soprano here, but I'm assuming their voice range is going to be in this area. Going back to what you said before, if we had a little look at the frequencies here, if we go back to the dynamics, you do have a frequency range here that you can move within the spectrum to then say, well, once it gets to that frequency range, we need to even it out. Obviously, you can use this tool here to widen the spectrum. So although it's peaking at, what does that say, 1.21, so that's going to kind of kick in. Once I start driving this, you can see it's just tickling. To be honest with you, I prefer compressors just tickling. I don't like to see them doing too much. But sometimes you have to have that if their dynamic range is too severe. So you could find the frequency where they're peaking, and then you could move it along. So you see my stuff was a bit more lower down. So if we look at the imagery again, come over here, you can see I'm more in the lowest frequencies. So, above 200, 300, 400, 500 is my stuff. If I was peaking a bit there, you could actually then go to the dynamic on that and just grab me, I don't know. Let's have a little look at that. So that's quite high at the minute. Go down. That's going to cover the whole spectrum. Let's go to that. Just move it around. So once that gets to around about the 500, you're going to start tuning in the frequencies to even out the 500 range. If it's an alto, they're going to be probably higher, more like 2 kilohertz, 2000. So you would then take that up to the 2000 range, and you could save that setting for them. It's a lot more versatile now that it's in this digital spectrum. If you've got that use, a lot of people don't have that. Some people just have outboard gear, which literally has, threshold, ratio, attack, release. And then there's a thing called makeup gain. I haven't seen makeup gain on here, but let's just see where it is. If there's any makeup gain on it, it doesn't seem like there is there? Yeah. Okay, no worries. So there's a thing called makeup gain. So when you get it average, and it's nice and smooth, but you go, it's just not quite loud enough. Is that it? Oh yeah, gain, yeah, makeup gain. So we've got my sound nice and level, but then I can start adding more to that gain, so you can see how it's got better. So now, you're going to get a good even sound. But I've got so let's see, we're going to try and even that out a little bit. Just pull that down. So we've got our level.
doesn't seem to be working so much. Like, we could look at the EQ for that if that doesn't quite grab that. Hey, yep, yep. And then you've got the makeup gain, which is what I was looking for before. So you might have an even sound, that's a bit dull, but then you want to just add the gain. That's not adjusting the gain input, it's not adjusting the gain output. Sorry, it is adjusting the gain output, but not on the fader output, it's just on the EQ aspect of it. So in that way, you're going to get a nice even sound. Now, I wouldn't mind listening to that particularly. There's a bit of on it that I'm not so keen on it. So we go back to the sibilance here. You can see straight away when we see sibilance peak. Do you see that there? So you can just grab that and then here. But then that kind of robs a little bit of the sound as well. So then there's another thing over here. We go to the high over here. And maybe just bring that in a little bit. 1, 2. The thing is with speeches, you do want to hear a bit of sibilance. But then there's things called de-essers as well. You could put a de-esser on that, possibly. But again, just taking a little bit of a sweet spot there, taking that S out. And then you might want to bring that along here. Let's just take that along there and add a little bit of that. And you start changing that. So you're getting enough of the treble. And it's all about the diction, isn't it? It's being able to hear every syllable. It's about being able to hear everything even and sweet.
Can you please like explain where like the treble and the, you know, like I understand this is the low, which is the bass, and this is like this high frequency like cymbals and air, but what's the middle?
So middle range, 500 hertz to 2 kilohertz is where your guitars, a lot of your keyboard parts sit there. I mean, obviously you have bass parts, but guitars are always around sort of 500 hertz, which is mid-range here up there. You get a lot of speech within that element as well, because you've seen a lot of my speech was in that sort of area. And obviously bass, guitar, drums are lower down here. Hi-hats are obviously a bit more, yeah. Snare drum peaks at 1 kilohertz. So that's your 20 to 20, so it's 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz and everything in between. Most of the stuff that we listen to on TV is in this spectrum here, on your TV at home. But if you've got like a nice surround system with bass bins, then all of that frequency, the subharmonics are in here, then you've got a lot of atmos. You know, if you go outside, I don't know if you've ever listened, you're just sitting at the bus stop, right? You ever just sit and listen to what's happening? You ever take it in? Right, there's engine noises, there's birds. You can be travelling at 60 miles an hour, you can hear a bird tweet. It's insane, isn't it? So, obviously, they're around this area here. You've got engine noises, that's rumbling. I had an interesting job at the beginning of the year where I had to do a lot of Foley, so I got a lot of imagery for an hour-long documentary movie thing, where a lot of CCTV footage was using no sound. So I had to look at that image and I went, oh right, there's a bus there. It's a diesel engine bus, so I'll go and source that sound. Right, somebody's pulling up in a car. It's that type of car, it's going to have that engine noise. So because of my role and my interest in that, I have access to all of them sound effects, but I know what I'm looking for. And it's amazing just to sit at a bus stop or a train station and just listen to what you can hear. Because our brains are very clever at shutting stuff. And we'll focus on the thing, that's it. So if I'm having a conversation with you, I'm hearing fan noise behaviours. Somebody have a conversation over there. He's tapping on his phone. But that's okay, you can tap on your phone. Do you know what I mean? But our brain shuts that off because I'm having a conversation with you and I'm focused on. But if I'm talking not so much good stuff to you, you might drift off and you're going to be listening to heaven. So, that's sound. Do you know what sound is even? Do you have any concept? Is it do we know what sound is? Excellent. Well done. That's right. It's air movement. That's why I did the PB thing for you, because it's air movement. That's how we hear things. It's a very clever thing. There's so many different sounds. So, does that answer your question? I love your question. It's people
Alright.
like you who keep these seminars alive, man. I'm telling you,
Alright,
much better
so
than not. So.
the question we put is, this is a church setting.
Yep.
Then it's beautiful now when we're talking just one mic.
Yeah.
And sounding beautiful clear. When everybody comes on now, the sax is on, the drums, the bass guitar, the voices. What we notice sometimes is that especially when everything is then on the high pitch,
Yeah.
you see the mics and the volume. What? So, and sometimes even with the rehearsals, you don't really get it like when it's now set. So what causes that, and how do you go about that? Why does the
Energy.
voice then drop?
Well, yes. Yeah. Yeah. So it's all about energy. Okay, so let me go back to the basics again of communication. You have somebody coming in and they're playing on the keyboard, the drummer's doing the drummer, they're all setting up, the sax players learning these. I set up a stage discipline with musicians where I say you don't make any noise unless you have to. Firstly, if you can get a good discipline on stage, the drummer will come in and do their sound check, shut up. Bass player does their sound check, quiet. Keyboard player does it, right, are you happy? Then we go through each individual thing, who wants to hear what. In this environment so small, it should never be that, where you can't hear the vocals. Vocals should be key to everything, because that's part of the engagement, where the bass, the keyboards and the drums should be embellishments and around the vocals. So a lot of that discipline is down to the musicians on stage. In this environment, to use full sticks. In this environment, they should use what's called hot ones or brushes. There's no reason for them to use heavy sticks, because if that's 300 watts before you put a voice over it, how can you get the volume above that without wiping out people with the speakers you've got? Because you're going to be driving them so hard that it's never going to sing. So your source sound is key to everything. And if you can't control your source sound, then he has no chance at all of fixing them. So vocals should be the first thing that's loud and tested. And you get it to the volume of the room, and people should play to the volume of the vocal. And once you have people, come on in, get yourself in, man. Come on, man. Love is like a Nigerian bus. There's always room for one more. Have you heard that before? Are you doing okay? Okay, right, excellent. So unless you do the vocals, and people do not have the play so loudly over that, you're going to fight with that all the time. You're constantly fighting the fire, yeah. Is that when you're monitoring up there, though, or when you're doing it? I would definitely say to you, I mean, you've got everything wired up there. It's not also the best position for you to be at the back underneath the balcony, but that's where people would put it. Your position is on that pillow. Really is where you would be in this room. But if you have to go up there, you're going to have to keep coming up and down to check the differences. I've mixed in an environment up there before, but then what I ended up doing on a big, it was one of the gospel events in Walker, club in Walker. We had a big London based band on, Americans and everything. And I stayed in the band pit, and I had a guy upstairs, and I was giving him cues of what was happening downstairs. And because that's how they're set up there and it wasn't great, you can have your own monitors up there. Like you've got a speaker, but it's pointing out into the hall. So you're going to. Yeah, but okay. That's an expensive headphone amplifier. Right? Oh no! Oh, I thought you were saying you were using that speaker as your headphone amplifier. So getting back to that, it's a discipline of the musicians, and that's where the communication comes in, and that we spoke about at the very start of the session. So, for me, when you're saying you're losing the vocals, that means the band's too, and they've got to be quieter. But then I've also had it whereby the singers are not putting enough energy into the mic. So that's another conversation where you've got to say, and I've had singers say, well, I can't do it. And it's like, well, if you can't do any more, and I know my gain structure is on the edge, I don't want you spoiling my sound because I'm having to put more gain in and suppose and feed. Monitoring is key. Get people on ears if you can. I know they're restricted and it's expensive to get wireless in-ear systems, but if you can get people on in-ears, your room level is going to be quieter, which means you can then use the front house speakers as the control. Yeah. So how it works is it'll come from front house, and there's many different ways. Can you show me that? Yeah, 100%. This thing I did just down in London really was a big gospel player. I was speaking to the music director there. He said he'd worked in this venue many times and hated the sound of the venue. And it was like, well, we're going to have everybody on in ears. And he was great. So that's super. So literally, every musician, there was bass, guitar, drums, MD, all on the in ears. The three backing singers had a mix on in ears. And then the 16-piece choir had three wedges. So the only thing that was going through there was a bit of keyboard and their sections. Oh. And it was all set at a unity level. So the stage level in the environment, the front of house mixer could actually mix properly because there was nothing really on stage. There was a bit of bass guitar. There was a bit of leakage through the drums, but because he was in screen, it was reduced somewhat. So you could control the room sound. If you've got everything coming off the stage at all different volumes levels, there's nothing that front of house engineer. These things, they're like, I've just bought a couple of these actually. They're like 29, 30 quid each, so the cheapest chips. They come in with like a AA battery type setup. And they've got a one mono input, that's the thing. People can turn up with like their phone earpieces. Even the 4-pole works in these. It will be mono. But even if they had it on one side, they could listen. That's the other thing you've got to be careful with. You don't want to deafen. So this is like a Behringer preamp. It's a P2, is it, or a P1 or something? P2. Again, it's called P2, but it is just a mono in. Take a jack or an XLR. So you can produce a mix through your auxiliary, and you can put different things. So if the keyboard player says, I just want the lead vocalist in it, whatever signal you send to this will be his keyboards plus the lead vocalist, or maybe he's the preacher if he wants to play. And he's not here, and that's the thing is he's sat. If a drummer's playing loud, you're never going to get above that level. So it's important to go to the drummer and say, look, buy some hot rods. Hot rods are like, have you ever seen them? They're like multiple stems and brushes together. It reduces it by half volume. Yeah. 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 But you're in a slightly different arrangement to what we're in here. You've probably got a bigger venue. Is it?
Yeah, no, but our kind of
Yes. Yeah.
because if it's like the screen
It doesn't.
it's not over the
No, It doesn't. And honestly, I've used it like so many times, and it reduces the cymbal splashes. But the kick drum and the snare drum will still be very audible because it's coming over the top. The thing with bass movement is bass talks about length. So like if you're playing the bass over there, it might sound really quiet where you are, but the back of the hall, like it's actually hitting people's chests. Um, and that's about the thing. It's like you get people on years, they're probably going to play a little bit more gentle. And I think what you've got to do is find out what's important for you, especially if you're doing the full-on party worship where it's like a lot of energy. You want that. But, of course, I know. But you've got to have the infrastructure to cope with that. You know, you were saying, do you mic your drums up? They're all mic'd up, yeah. So now you're going to put 300 watts that's acoustically airborne, and then you're going to stick it through speakers. And then you're going to be going, well, we can't hear the vocals. Yeah, but acoustically you can't hear the vocals because not there. And then, you know, if you've got somebody who's gentle and then mic technique's not good. So you've literally got to go through every single section and go, right, how do I fix this? Can the drummer play slightly quieter? Can the keyboard player MD be on in ears? Can the singers give more energy to the vocal mic? So to control that, you've got to have a great understanding where the problem is. Otherwise, you're fixing that fault and causing it
Hallelujah.
somewhere else. So that's one of the things that you need to work through, you know.
Thank you.
I think this
Thank you very
afternoon
much.
we need to have a little bit more listening to the sound on the speakers.
Thank
I
you.
think we need to look at
Thank
speaker
you.
placement.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
hello.
I'm trying to test out a mic for you.
Oh, okay. But things like these for 29 quid,
Hello.
it's a no-brainer. It's like definitely worth getting. It's just a couple of buys. You can buy batteries now that are become rechargeable, so you pay 40 quid for them, and then they'll last you a couple of years or something. So we're saving the environment somewhat. I can see the reason these are not because there's no light on them. We're saying the keyboardist here doesn't use them because it didn't work, but again, nobody told the front of house guy that these don't work, and that's why he didn't want to use it. So do you see how important communication is between all the different departments? No, you, though, don't I? I've met you. Don't I? Have I met you before? I had recognized you. Right. What's next? Question. Are you talking about backup singers? It really just depends on what sound they make. If they're making a good sound acoustically, is that good? I think it really depends on the environment. We had 16 backup singers on that job last weekend because they were singing as a choir. So it depends on a lead singer and how well did the backup singers work. Again, you're asking the question that's based on what's the source sound like? Or did they sound good? Or they're not so good? I mean, how do you even deal with that? If you've got somebody who's not pitching correctly, does that affect the situation? Do you let that just happen and you live with it and you kind of use the mixer to turn them down a little bit? I found a lot of gospel choirs that there's a lot of good pitches as well. But when you blend it together, it's a wall of sound. And that's a beautiful thing. So have that, but then it's working out where you're going to put them in the mix. Because it would be good to have all of the average of the good singers at 0 and the not so good singers. Maybe they're not putting the effort in, but just turn them down a little bit to -10. So they're still obviously part of it. But then if you've got that person that's not so good going, oh, I can't hear myself. So you're into a very, again, do you remember the first part of the conversation? How do I make good sound? Go and study psychology for 3 years. Because part of the sound man's job is to communicate with everyone and sort of say, you know, in the nicest possible way, sorry, I cannot give you that. You want to put more energy into whatever. That's going to help. It doesn't help. It's really hard to get that. the -10, what I just mentioned there, I don't know. That's about. I killed the. So -10, when I was talking about fader level. I'm now coming through the. -10 was the fader level. Is that the question you?
Can't hear myself in Europe. You say, okay, you could say I'm struggling with the pitch at the minute, and they'll say, well, I can't hear ourselves. But if you then give them the good volume where you know that it's a good signal to them, and they're still out of tune, that's how people sometimes sound. And it depends if you're happy with that in the environment or not. So that's how I'd work that out. And again, it's down to diplomacy of the sound person. As we're all learning, I never stop learning. I've been doing this 45 years and I'm still learning new tricks and things to do because that's what we do. But communication, again, I can't reiterate that enough. You've got to have a good relationship with the people who are on stage, and you've got to be their best friend. I'm coming out the speakers now too. So that kind of summarized. Let's just have a quick summary. So we started off at the beginning. We've just talked about communication. We went into all of the different mics we have. We talked about mic technique and how much it rolls off. This is a cardioid mic, so it will pick up signals from this area, around this area. But it needs to be very close. As soon as you have it there, it's a great signal. As soon as you put it there, literally it rolls off like 10 dB. Which means you've got to then put a lot more gain structure in, which then causes the feedback because of the sound that's coming in from the room and around it. The discipline of mic technique is key to everything. We talked about radio frequencies. We talked about one frequency per channel and how you should frequency coordinate that and get yourself an XML, channel 1, channel 4, whatever you've got. Put what the frequency is. If you get into doing in-ears, find out what that frequency is with the headset. Even though it says it can't be adjusted, do some research on it and find out if it can, and find out what frequency it's on, because you need that as part of your coordination. Then we talked about EQ, high-pass filter. Speech-wise, get the 100 hertz on for the high-pass filter. There's a starting point. EQ, have a little mess around with the frequencies, turn things up and down. Go out and do it yourself, put the mic on yourself and then have a play with it. And then getting the overall balance as communication with regards to the talking to the band and the singers. Go and listen to them. Sometimes when I'm mixing, I don't do a lot of front of house stuff, but in churches I have done quite a bit. And I'll go on stage and I'll listen to what's going on stage. And if somebody's saying, I cannot hear it. If it's coming out of the speaker and they're just in the wrong place, either move them or move the speaker. And it can be something as just an angle. Lean it back, turn it to the side a bit, and it makes all the difference. Sounds quite interesting with regards to what we call access points. So like when that's a good access point, that's off axis. And you'll see that all the time. People will be singing like that, won't they? And then you get people who preach like that. It's like, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. So they're the things, they're challenges that you're always going to come against. And we talked about compression, and we all know about ratio, threshold. Anything else we'd like to talk about? Go ahead. Go on first. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Good question. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I'll cut straight to the chase. It's generally a combination of people. Okay. And it's generally not the equipment. You've got a great mixer for the price. It's going to do everything you're ever going to need. The speakers in here, they're okay. They're producing sound. They're moving the air to refill. When you have somebody that's in an environment like this, which is very, very small environment, you want to feel it rock a little bit, especially on worship, but you don't want it to be so loud that it's uncomfortable. You get people who sit at the front going, it's too loud. And then the people at the back's going, it's not loud enough. And it's like, well, you want to swap places because obviously the person at the back is here. But you've got to have the musicians as a worship team. That's what you have to be, as a team. So who is the worship leader? Who is the musical director? And that person needs to be able to have a good understanding of being able to keep the levels right. Because in this environment, it shouldn't really be that loud. It really shouldn't be that loud. But if you want the energy, then the vocals have to be key, and everything else needs to be just underneath that. Because that's what we engage with, is the vocals, isn't it? So that's my personal preference. If I'm not hearing the vocals or hearing the words, because that's what leads us, then that's not working for me. And if you're fighting that every day, you've got to go and find out what that problem is, and that's what we just spoke about earlier, communication with the musicians. The musical keyboard director, if that's who the person is, isn't hearing himself. Well, let's get his headphones working, and let's get his mix where he's comfortable. The drummer in this environment, I can't see that working with heavy sticks in here, because it's just going to be too powerful. If you go to a pub along the street and you hear a band, normally the only thing that goes through the PA is the vocals, because everything acoustically, the bass amp, the guitar amp, and the drums are loud enough to cover that. You do get some bands that will put in bigger PA systems to be even louder, but generally, that's what it is. The drums are going to be the loudest thing, and you've got to be able to get above them. These speakers might be able to do it. The fact that they're up off the ground allows more people in the environment. If you have them on sticks with the bass bins up here, you're going to take up a lot of floor space. So the positioning, for me, they're a little bit too far forward, but they're in a position where they are. And at the minute, they're actually bouncing off that wall over there, and that one's bouncing off that wall over there. You're not getting any true focus of the fill in the room. You're not getting any focal point. It's like, it's up there. But really, you kind of want them at head level, 6 foot or something. They're a little bit too high, and possibly not in the right position, but they've been put in a position that's like, well, they're great. They'll take up no floor space. They're up in the room, and they're producing sound. If it is, do you sing in here? Is this your? Yeah, okay. So you have no floor monitors neither. You've got nothing coming back at you. Yeah, but it's pointing into the audience. So the access point is, that's coming from behind you, not in front of you. Where it's coming in front of you. So that speaker's coming into that, whereas it should be coming up to that. And where you've got the null in the access point, where it's going to cancel out, which means you could have more volume on yourself. That way you'll probably perform better. Also, the guys over there might be able to hear it better. Sorry guys, I'm sorry, 1 second guys, because they're talking and I cannot really hear what you say. Yeah. Mm-hmm. When you go online. Yeah. Lost. Yeah.
probably positioned in the right position. Yeah. But your energy level was probably good. Yeah.
So, you know, looking at the size of the torch and
Yeah.
even after you know you have it
Yeah. Absolutely.
and you know something is like pulling you down.
Yeah. I get it. 100%. But that's because I think it's because it's a combination of speaker placement, knowledge, and people probably fighting for their own little corners as opposed to trying to work as a team. So that's part of the psychology thing. We need to get into that and figure that out. You know, we've got the worship team coming in this afternoon. We'll have a little chat. The first observation we'll have this afternoon, because I have never been here before and I've not really seen what you do and what it sounds like. So we can make some detailed assessment from what I see this afternoon. The pastor wants to go forward with that. But I think for your learning, you've got to learn about source sounds first. And that's what we're trying to achieve today. By the end of today, you have a better understanding of what the source sounds like. That's your voice and his keyboards and the drums coming through the signal flow, getting processed and coming into the speakers of what we've got in the place of God, and to see the best thing that we can do. So this afternoon, we're going to take a break now, have a bit of lunch. This afternoon, first part of it, we'll look at speaker placement, and we'll look to see how we can improve, what's the possibilities here, and then I think take it from there. But there's obviously some obvious things just straight away that we see, which we've just mentioned, that need fixed before you even turn the sound system on. Yep. Any quick questions before we break for lunch? Sorry, what's the? Yep. Oh, yeah, so it goes from left to right as you look at it. Left's 20 hertz, 20 kilohertz, so that's 20,000. So it goes from 20 hertz to 20,000, and it's all racked in between. 1K for some reasons in the middle. So that's where a lot of your frequencies kind of sit, really. So 1K is a bigger, wider spectrum, and then 5K is where you get a bit more brightness, where you get the sound. You get 10 kilohertz, which you'll hear a lot of music. If you take that off, you'll suddenly feel like it's muffled. And most people don't hear beyond 12K anyway. You can hear 15 kilohertz when a TV or a monitor whistles. But like a TV monitor or something, if it's not terminated, there's like that's at 15 kilohertz. But the average stuff you're going to hear is between 500 and 5K. You'll feel 63 hertz, which is bass sub, and it depends on the amplitude, it depends on how loud that is, that you'll hear that. TV-wise, the bass frequency is like 125 hertz. If you hear a bass guitar on the TV, it's normally been amplified about 125 hertz. But then it's all either, it's not specifically, that's where the peak is, but then you've got sounds either side of that as well. All right, does that make sense? Anything else? We're going to take a break for lunch. Are you enjoying it so far? Are you keeping up? Go on then. Electric drum would be 100% better for this church because you can have all the individual sounds. But then you're going to have the complication, will the drummer be happy? Because you normally find, no, I want my real drums. But electric drums in this environment is absolutely perfect. It would make your life absolutely brilliant. But then you've got to be sweet with the drummer, make sure the drummer's happy with it. Are we doing okay, guys? You hanging in there so far? There you go.